Okay, hi, we're back and we are working on the next tab in our little booklet. So if you are just joining me now and you haven't made a booklet like this, you need to go back and watch the first video that I posted that's entitled Spanish 102 Preterite book. And that shows you how to put this book together. It tells you how to fold it and make sure you have it put together correctly. And then it also helps you fill in our very first tab that we have right here, which is the regular AR, ER, and IR verbs in the preterite tense. And if you also missed that video and it's hard to see my endings here, those endings can be found on page 206 in your textbook. So page 206 in your textbook. Again, the reason we're putting it into this little booklet, you say, Miss Lopez, well, they're in my textbook, page 206 in my textbook. But there's so many different rules and conjugations with the preterite tense and the past tense. And then we add on the second past tense, which is the imperfect. And it gets to the point where all of your information is kind of scattered throughout your textbook. So as we add into this booklet, it's really handy because it keeps it all nice and neat in one little place for you. Everything about the past tense, which is why the book is called the Past Tense Book. All right, so just a little refresher. Remember that we're talking about the past tense in Spanish. And in Spanish, there's two past tenses. There is the preterite, which you learn in chapters 6 and 7. And there's the imperfect, which you learn in chapter 8. Chapter 9 is using the preterite and the imperfect together. It's using both of them together. And as I mentioned in my first video, these two types of past tenses, the preterite and the imperfect, are like ser and estar and saber and conocer. You can't just decide, oh, I like the preterite better, so I think I'm only going to use the preterite. And someone else might say, no, I really like the imperfect better, so when I talk in the past, I'm only going to use the imperfect tense. It doesn't work that way. There's rules about when you use preterite and when you use imperfect. And we get to those in chapter 9, and we will add them to your booklet as well, the rules. So today we're going to talk about spelling changes in the preterite tense, because remember we're in chapter 6, so everything's about the preterite tense. So if you want to follow along with me, what we're doing is I'm on page 207, okay, on page 207. So what we're going to do here is in our book, we're going to title our next little tab right here. See our little tab? Underneath regular AR, ER, and IR verbs. And this tab's going to be called Spelling Changes in the Preterite. All right, so make sure you go ahead and get that written in there, Spelling Changes in the Preterite. Okay. Kind of make it small enough like we did before because you want enough room to write in your material here. Okay. There are 4 main spelling changes in the preterite tense, and these occur in car verbs, gar verbs, and zar verbs. So make your 3 charts right here. Car, gar, and zar. That means that they're verbs that end in car, or the verb ends in gar, or it ends in zar. Okay? And we're going to talk about how they change. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a car verb. Let's look at a car verb really quickly. And I'm going to give this to you on a sheet of paper over here so that we can have enough room. I can give you notes, and we have enough room to put information back onto our charts, our little booklet. So buscar is a good car verb. Buscar ends in car, see our car? It's an AR verb, of course, because it ends in car, and it means to look for, to look for. Since it's a car verb, and it's an AR verb, if I were to conjugate this verb, in the yo form, I would take off the AR ending, and I'd put an E with an accent mark. So it would look like this. But when a C is followed by an E, right? So when you have a CE in Spanish, that C sounds like an S. So now this verb is busqué. But we have a K sound in the original verb, because when C is followed by an A, it makes a K sound. Car, buscar. And this has changed the sound of the verb completely, right? We went from busca, buscar, to busqué. And that can't happen. We have to keep the original sound of the verb. So in the yo form, it's going to not be that, but instead it's going to be B-U-S, and it's going to change to Q-U-E with an accent mark. Busqué. Now we have the K sound. Okay? We have the actual K sound. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to put here in our book that our yo form is busqué. Right? It's the Q-U-E. So car verbs change to Q-U-E in the yo form. Okay? In the yo form. All the other conjugations for buscar are the regular AR verb endings in the preterite tense. The same that we put on our first page, right? Our little page right here. It's going to follow the rest of the endings. Only the yo form is different. So the to form is going to be buscaste. You looked for something. Él buscó. He looked for something. Nosotros buscamos. We looked for something. Y ellos buscaron. They looked for something. Okay, so the rest of it's the same. All right, gar verbs. Let's do an example of a gar verb. An example of a gar verb is llegar, which means to arrive. Right? Llegar. It means to arrive. It ends in gar. It ends in gar. So it's a gar verb. Well, if we were to put the regular AR ending on for the yo form in the preterite tense, it would look like this. We'd take that AR off, and we would put an E with an accent mark. The only problem is that when G comes before an E, it sounds like an H. So now the verb is llegué. But that's not the original sound of the verb. The original sound of the verb is llegar, because G in front of an A sounds like a G. So we have to keep that G sound. So to do that, we're going to not put an E, but instead we're going to put a G-U-E with an accent mark. Okay? So now we have llegué. So buscar, car verbs change to que in the yo form. Llegar, gar verbs change to que in the yo form. Okay, so car goes to que, and gar goes to que, but in the yo form only. In the yo form only. So we're going to put our llegar. We're going to put our llegar in here. So for the yo form, it's llegué. But for the rest of the conjugation, you use your regular AR verb endings for the preterite tense. So tú llegaste, él llegó, nosotros llegamos, y ellos llegaron. See? All right, we're going to do the last one. A zar verb. A good example of a zar verb is almorzar, which means to eat lunch, right? To eat lunch. To eat lunch. It ends in zar. It's a zar verb. So, what we're going to do is, it would end, the yo form would normally end like this. You take off that AR and just put an E with an accent mark. But that's not going to be the case anymore. For zar verbs in the yo form, the zar in the yo form will change to CE with an accent mark over the E. In this one, I don't know why. It just does. So, the yo form here would become almorcé. I ate lunch. Almorcé. So let's put that over here. So in our book, we're going to put almorcé. But then the rest of the conjugation is completely normal, like any other AR verb. Almorzaste. You keep that Z. Almorzó. Almorzamos. And almorzan. Almorzaron. Okay, almorzaron. Again, these are on page 207 if you can't read my handwriting over the video. But I suggest you do it and put it into a book because it's handy to have everything together when we take a test. Okay? All right. There's one more spelling change that we need to include. And if you don't have space on that page like I didn't, let's just do it on the back. Okay, we're going to do it on the back right here. And this is a Y spelling change. So this group is called the Y spelling change. Can you see my Y? It's a Y spelling change. And Y spelling changes occur with verbs that have two vowels next to each other. Normally, ER or IR verbs. So always a good example is the verb leer. The verb leer. See how it has two vowels next to each other? L-E-E-R. It's got two E's. Okay. What's going to happen is this is going to cause a problem. When we conjugate it in the preterite tense using the ER endings, I'm going to get this. Leí, leíste, leyó, leímos, leyeron. This is what it's going to look like when you conjugate it. Because it's an ER verb, take off that ER and put your new endings on. Okay? So you took this off. You took that ER off and put your new endings on. The problem occurs down here. In Spanish, there's a problem. You rarely can have three vowels in a row. Rarely. It's really discouraged in Spanish. We don't want three vowels in a row. It makes it difficult to pronounce. So over here, we have E-I-O together, three vowels in a row. And over here, we have E-I-E, three vowels in a row. So what we have to do is, we have to change down here, that I has to be changed to a Y. Because in Spanish, Y isn't considered a vowel. Not ever. It's always a consonant. So we change those I's to Y's. So now we don't have three vowels in a row. Now it's easier to pronounce. We have leyó and leyeron. Okay? So that changes down here. The change occurs in the third person, singular and plural. So we're going to put our example here in our book. Okay, we're going to put our example here in our book. So our example is going to be with the verb leer. And I'm going to do just what I did right there for y'all in the paper. I'm going to conjugate it. And I'm going to put a Y in my third person. And I might want to write a note there. On the back. I'm going to circle it down here too. See, I'm going to circle it right here. I gave myself my example and I circled where I have my spelling change, where that I changes to a Y. And I might make a note over here if I were you, that in Spanish you can't have 3 vowels in a row. If you have 3 vowels in a row, you need to change your I to a Y. And that's going to work for any verb that has 2 vowels together right here. Okay? Just like with our spelling changes on the front page. These spelling changes, and these occur just in the yo form. So we're just going to circle the yo form, because that's where the spelling changes occur in our car, gar, zar verbs. This happens in every verb in Spanish that ends in either car, gar, or zar. Any verb. Tocar, like to tocar música, to play music. It's a car verb. So since it's a car verb, the yo form right here is going to change to QUE with an accent mark over it. So if I wanted to say I played music yesterday, it would be yo toqué música with a QUE. It works the same for all the car, gar, zar. Okay? So hopefully that'll help you out, and I'll post a video probably tomorrow with stem changing in the preterite tense. Okay? And that'll be our next tab. So I look forward to it then. Thanks so much.